day, grade 3 learners, and welcome to today's English lesson. My name is Erica Gura, and this lesson is brought to you by Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Sci-Bono Discovery Centre and broadcast by Pakama Research and Development. So we've got English Home Language grade 3. Our knowledge area is writing. Our topic is writing paragraphs. And our subtopic is fiction writing. And I'm the presenter, Erica Gura. Let's have a look at our lesson objectives for today. At the end of the lesson, you will be able to find the difference between fiction and non-fiction texts, differentiate between facts and imagination, write a paragraph, and notice that this is fiction. What is our prior knowledge? Grade 2 has begun to understand that there is a difference between fiction and non-fiction and what these words mean. Has begun to write clearly with the correct spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Fiction texts. Do you remember what fiction means? If something is fiction, it means it is made up. That means it comes from somebody else's imagination or your head. It is not real. It could be fantasy. That's when you dream up an imaginative story. It can be from someone's own imagination. It can be just for fun. It can be invented. That's another word for just made up, simply not true. Right. Let's have a look at what types of stories and books are fiction. We get mysteries. That's when you're not quite sure what is going to happen in the story. It's a mystery. We could have science fiction. That's usually to do with space and the moon or planets or little creatures that live on planets, all made up. Not real facts at all. You could zoom off to the moon in your own space rocket, which is not something that is possible. And then another thing that falls into fiction is romance. That is about people loving each other, a love story. Like, for example, between a prince and a princess. It's totally made up, but it is a love story. And then another one is a crime thriller. That's a story that people love to read. It's not real, and something happens, and it's quite exciting. That's what thriller means. It's very exciting, and we have to try and find out who did what it was and then catch them. So it's on the edge of your seat type of story that people love, crime thrillers. Let's have a look at these fiction examples. These are book titles. That means it's the name of the book. And we have one famous book here called The Faraway Tree. And that was definitely something made up by the author, the person who writes the book. For example, The Magic Bean. Something happens to the bean that's magic. So that's definitely fiction. What about The Magician and Her Spell? That's something that people just read about for fun because it's interesting. It's magic. The Man Who Turned Blue Overnight. That's not something that could really happen. So that is fiction. What about The Talking Fish? That's definitely fiction, but wouldn't that be a lot of fun to read? The Talking Fish. How about The Robot Friend? A robot that talks and walks and is your friend. That would be quite fun, but that's definitely a made-up story. And then what about My Trip to Space? That's not something that is likely to happen in our lifetime. So it's something fun, like an adventure that we can go on into space. Another fiction example. Let's have a look at these different books. These are all different types of fiction texts. So we've got one here called What the Ladybug Heard. I wonder what the ladybug heard. That's a mystery to me. I'm not sure exactly what it is. So that could be a mystery story. And then what about number 2? It says crushing it. It looks like a little love story between two people. And then what about number 3? It says Space Academy. That sounds like fun. It's like a little school that children go to in space. And that sounds like a space fictional story. And then this one, a Mona Lisa mystery. The Mona Lisa was a famous painting, and now there's a mystery surrounding it. So we have some sort of crime thriller. Maybe somebody stole the Mona Lisa painting. And those all look like fun fiction texts. So nonfiction means real or true. Now it's the complete opposite to what we've been looking at. The other ones were made up, they were not true, but nonfiction is now real or true. It's not fantasy. It's not made up. It's not imaginary. And it's not invented. Let's have a look at some nonfiction book titles. That means what the books are called, the name of the books. We could have a nonfiction book called The Elephants of Africa. So it's going to give us all information about the elephants that live in Africa, what type of elephants, all the facts about them, how they live, what they eat. Those are true facts, so it's nonfiction. Another one could be Neil Armstrong on the moon. He was the man that went to the moon, so that is all factual. Those are things that we can look up. When did it happen? How did it happen? Where did they go? What did they use? All facts. We could look at the life story of Michael Jackson, the famous pop singer. Those are the facts of his life. It really, really did happen. So it is non-fiction. We could look at Magic Johnson. He's a basketball player. So the story is Magic Johnson, basketball hero. It's not a story, it is made up. It's his whole life, all about this wonderful man who was a basketball player and inspired many young children to play basketball. So those are non-fiction book titles. Let's have a look at what type of texts are non-fiction. It doesn't have to only be books. We also get news articles. So if you see somebody reading the newspaper, you can say, that's non-fiction. What about diaries? Some people write in a diary every day or every evening, and they say what happened in their day and what their feelings are. Then we get essays. Essays are usually written by students, and it's about something factual, something truthful, some event that really, really did happen. And then we get travel writing. That means information and writing to do with traveling around the world. So think about which country you would like to go and visit. You want to find out more about it before you get there so that you can plan your travels. So that is travel writing. Then you get history accounts. Those are very important. What happened back in history? If you want to find out about a World War I that was fought, or a World War II that was fought, you need to go and find out what those facts are. That's very important. So those are history accounts. Then we get advertisements. We say adverts for short, but the long word is advertisements. And that is to make us buy a certain product. We need to know what's out there in the shops, and the people who are selling it to us want to promote it to us with adverts or advertisements. And then we get information leaflets. That is like a little piece of paper that has a lot of information on it about something you want to find out about. And then we get magazine articles. Have you seen people reading a magazine? There's lots of pictures, but there are also articles, and that is all non-fiction. It's not made up, it's truth or fiction. It's truth, and it's got lots of facts in it. Okay, So let's go through those words that I just mentioned. Let's look at some examples of each one. What is an essay? So that's when the student writes down an article about something, for example, the war between Russia and the Ukraine that's happening. What is travel writing? Do you remember travel writing? Say you want to find out more about getting around Thailand in a tuk-tuk. Or what is a history account? Maybe we want to find out exactly what happened in World War I. What is an advertisement? There's an advertisement you might recognize if you like to eat McDonald's. It says the thing you want when you order salad. So everybody loves a good burger, and that lovely juicy burger is making us want to go and buy it. They give us the facts, but they put it in such a way that it really convinces us to go and buy one. And then what is an information leaflet? There's an example. It's a piece of paper that gets handed out to people, or you might just pick it up at the shops, and it's got some information that's very important. For example, this is all about the coronavirus symptoms. So if you want to find out more about coronavirus, then you just read your information leaflet. And there's a magazine article. I'm sure you've seen one before, and this one is all about soccer. What happened to the soccer players, what happened at the matches, what the scores were, who played well, who didn't play well, that kind of thing. So that's a magazine article. Let us look at these examples and see if we can guess what type of non-fiction text they are. Can you see that first picture for number 1? What does that look like to you? All different types of newspapers. So those are newspaper articles. Let's have a look at number 2. Looks like it's been written in somebody's handwriting. It's got the date on it, and they're telling all about what happened and their story and their feelings and everything. And so that is called a diary entry. Very good. Right, now we are going to write a fiction text about either a princess and a dragon, or you are going to choose a knight, a king and a soldier, or a ghost. That could be an interesting fiction one. A spy. A spy is somebody who creeps around quietly and finds out information about what's going on and reports it to somebody else. We could have a dog that could fly. That would never happen in real life. And then a cat that can talk. So your fiction text is all made up. It's all going to come out of your imagination. You're going to use your imagination to dream up a wonderful story. You're going to write a paragraph with at least 10 sentences. And you could start with, once upon a time there was a blah, blah, blah. Whichever one you are going to choose. Don't forget your spelling, your punctuation, and your grammar, and use your imagination to dream up something interesting and juicy for the person to read. Let us look at some words that you may need. If we have a look at this first fiction text, we have one about the princess and the dragon. Maybe you need these words to spur you on and to inspire you. Are they friends? Maybe the one saves the other. Who's the hero in this story? Is someone afraid? Maybe someone will get kidnapped or was kidnapped and has to be saved. Maybe there's some gold treasure involved. Maybe the dragon has to guard the princess. That means look out for her and look after her. Maybe she lives in a high tower and has to be rescued. Maybe the dragon flies up to help her and she is able to escape. So that could give you some ideas on what to write for if you choose the princess story. Maybe you prefer the knight, the king, and the soldier. Maybe they fight in a war and they are very brave. Another word for brave is to have courage, to be courageous. Maybe the knight is riding on a horse. Someone might win the war. That is a victory. When somebody wins, it is a great victory. Maybe the knight gets a certain reward from the king, and then he feels very proud, and everybody is happy. So those are some ideas that might help you, to inspire you to write a wonderful story about a knight, a king, and a soldier. What about a ghost story? Ooh. You have to make it very scary. It has to be terrifying. That means really scary. It takes people by surprise. It's a mystery what happened and where it went. It's a mystery. Maybe people begin to tremble, shake. Maybe it all happens at night time. Maybe there's a noise and a creak. That could be a nice story. Here's the spy story. The spy is dressed all in black so that he can hide amongst the shadows. And sometimes he has things with him like ropes or a knife to cut things or special implements. He likes to get inside buildings. It's always a mystery. He keeps it a secret where he's going. Sometimes he is in disguise. That means he doesn't look like he is looking usually. He might have a hat covering his face or glasses like he has here. He's very, very quiet. He can walk around and nobody will hear him. He whispers. He creeps. Perhaps he steals something. Perhaps he finds out something, some important information. He discovers something. So that could be a wonderful spy story if you are inspired to write that one. What about a dog that can fly? That would be so much fun. Look at that dog. It would be amazing to see a dog that could fly. It would be incredible. Would people believe it? Especially if they saw a dog flying in the sky or in the air. Maybe he uses his tail to keep him flying and wags his tail. What would people think? Would they be pointing up at the sky? Would they be surprised? Is the dog the hero coming to help somebody? Maybe he swoops down to the ground and rescues somebody or helps somebody. That could be a really fun story. What about a cat that can talk? This cat looks really funny talking. Of course, it would be such a surprise if we suddenly heard a cat talking and chattering away and chatting to us and meowing in between. Is the cat the hero? Maybe a person is the hero. Is that cat naughty or is that cat good? Is the cat helping someone? Is the cat running somewhere and maybe climbing up somewhere? So a cat that can talk would be very, very good as your story. Right, let's have a look at our summary. So remember the difference now between fiction and non-fiction. So fiction means it is made up, it is not real, it's fantasy, it's from someone's imagination, it's just for fun, it's invented, and it's not true. What about a non-fiction? It means real or true. It is not fantasy. It's not made up. It's not imaginary, and it's not invented. I think you know the difference now between fiction and non-fiction. Good. In our next lesson, we will then write a non-fiction text. Thank you, children. Thank you for watching this lesson. Please remember to sanitize, wear your mask, and maintain social distancing and keep safe. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.